I'm Amanda, standing here, in the middle of the garden filled with shocked gasps and disbelieving stares. I feel a strange sense of calm. The once perfect anniversary celebration has turned into a battlefield, and I'm the one holding the truth like a weapon. I look at the man who was once my husband, Daniel. He stands there, his face pale, eyes wide with shock as I read the letter from his mistress, Lily, word for word. The letter that revealed his infidelity, his lies, and his betrayal. It all started with a pale beige envelope that sat on my kitchen counter for 3 days. I first noticed it on a Monday morning, but it took me until Thursday to gather the courage to open it. That day, I was busy preparing for our 15th wedding anniversary. Daniel was a well-respected cardiologist, charming and accomplished, adored by his colleagues and friends. But over the past year, he had become a stranger to me. Always distant, always blaming work, and always forgetting the little things that used to matter. When I tore open the envelope with my morning coffee in hand, a wave of expensive perfume hit me. The letter on thick ivory paper was from Lily, a medical sales representative. She said she met Daniel at a conference in San Francisco last September. On the first night, he took off his wedding ring and introduced himself as single. As I read the letter, my hands trembled. Lily described their hotel nights, trips to the mountains, and a secret weekend in Malibu. The same times Daniel told me he was on emergency duty at the hospital. She also said Daniel promised to leave me after our anniversary. And he had painted me as a cold, career-obsessed woman. I remembered how I used to be a promising writer. I was teaching creative writing at a local community college when I met Daniel. I had a few essays published in small literary magazines and was working on my first novel. But after we got married, my writing gradually faded away. Daniel got a job offer at a big hospital in Los Angeles, and I gave up my job and turned down a writing fellowship. He said we could build a future there, and that I could write anywhere. But as the years went by, I was constantly dragged to hospital events, helping him with his presentations and speeches. Every time I mentioned going back to writing, he laughed it off, saying writing couldn't pay the bills. I started to doubt myself and slowly cut off contact with my friends. My parents noticed my change, but Daniel always made excuses to keep them at a distance. There were also those suspicious signs. A long, auburn hair on his shirt collar, a text message that said, "Meet me at the rooftop bar tonight." When I asked, he just laughed it off, making me feel like I was being paranoid. After reading the letter, I knew I couldn't stay silent. I reached out to my best friend, Sarah, a divorce lawyer. She helped me gather evidence. I logged into our old shared iCloud account and found pictures of Daniel with Lily and strange transactions in our bank account. I also visited Daniel's workplace to talk to his assistant, Emily. She showed me the conference schedule, and I found out Daniel had extended his stay after a conference. There were also expensive hotel bills and restaurant receipts that he never told me about. I hired a forensic accountant, Mark, who discovered that Daniel had hidden secondary accounts for personal expenses. I also talked to my former professor, Dr. Harris, who told me Daniel had tried to change the beneficiary of our joint life insurance policy without my consent. I also informed Dr. Thompson, the head of the department where Daniel worked, about the suspicious research grants. She promised to look into it. On the day of our anniversary, I walked down the aisle towards Daniel. He looked at me with that familiar smile, the one that once made me believe in forever. But when it was my turn to speak, I took out the letter and started reading. The garden fell silent as I exposed his lies. After I finished, I took off my wedding ring and placed it on the podium. I said, 15 years, I played the role of the perfect wife. But today it ends. And I walked away, not looking back. 2 days later, Daniel was suspended from the hospital pending an investigation. A week after the event, I filed for divorce. I didn't ask for much, just what was rightfully mine. I moved into a small apartment near the park. I started writing again, short stories about my experiences. One day, I received a message from Lily. She said she chose to tell the truth because she didn't want to be part of the lie. I replied that I didn't hate her, as we were both victims of Daniel's lies. 6 months later, my memoir was published. It wasn't a bestseller, but it reached many women who had similar experiences. I received messages from them, sharing their stories. Now, as I stand on my balcony, watching the city lights, I know I've come a long way. I'm no longer the woman who silently sacrificed her dreams. I've reclaimed my voice and my life.